Good day everyone, my name is Shiny Jane Akas, and in this video, we will learn how angles are formed and also figure out what are the different types of angles. Firstly, you need to know why we actually need that. So angles are used in building structures that can fall apart, and also to pass the ball to the next player in soccer. Architects, designers, and engineers can't do without them while designing roads, bridges, and machines. Now, let us first define what is an angle. So angle can be defined as the figure formed when two rays meeting at a common endpoint. For example, we have here ray BA and ray BC. So if we join these two rays together, we form an angle. So the two rays are called the sides or arms of an angle, while the common endpoint where two rays meet is called the vertex. Did you know there are different types of angles? Well, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. When we talk about angles, we are gonna measure with something called protractor. And based on what those measurements are, you can classify angles into 5 different types. Those angles are acute, obtuse, right, straight, and reflex angles. So what you are going to do is when you find an angle, you are going to measure that angle, and sometimes you can measure it by just looking and estimating with your eye. So let's go over those 5 types. Let's start with an acute angle. So here's a few examples of an acute angle. Alright, so what do you notice? What's similar and what's different? What do all of these angles have in common? That's right, they have a smaller angles. So acute angles measures less than 90 degrees. What about the next type? Now we have an obtuse angle. Here's a few examples of an obtuse angle. You might have noticed that they all have larger angles because all obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Alright, the next type is right angle. So let's take a look at this. So what do you notice about these angles? How are they similar and how are they different? That's right. Right angles measures exactly 90 degrees. Next is straight angle. Straight angles are exactly 180 degrees, so they are a flat line. The last type of angle is reflex angle. So here's an example of reflex angle. So reflex angle is any angle that is larger than a straight angle and goes from 180 degrees all the way to 360 degrees. That's all for kinds of angles. Okay, to test your understanding of angles, you have to identify the different type of angles described in each scenario. You have to choose from acute, obtuse, right, straight, and reflex angle. And comment your answers below. Okay, so that's all for today, and I hope you've learned a lot from this video.